name is Mumia Abu Jamal. I'm on death row in Pennsylvania. Ex-president of the Association of Black Journalists of Philadelphia. I'm still a continuing revolutionary journalist. I write for anybody who wants me to write for them. And I'm fighting my conviction, fighting the sentence, fighting for my life, and fighting to create revolution in America.
On December 9th, 1981, Mumia Abu Jamal was driving his taxi when he noticed that his brother had been stopped by police. He was concerned that the police may have been violating his brother's civil rights, which led him to get out of the car to check on his brother. There was an altercation following Mumia's departure from his vehicle, in which Philadelphia police officer Daniel Faulkner was shot and killed. There are witnesses who saw a man flee the scene that did not appear to look like Mumia, but when police arrived, Mumia, who'd also been shot, was arrested. In relation to the event, Mumia stated, "When I finally got to Jefferson Hospital, 2 cops came in. I was handcuffed, pulled me out, dropped me to the street, kicked, punched, and blackjacked me. Then I was beaten inside Jefferson again." It has been proven by ballistic reports that the .38 caliber found on Mumia was not the gun that killed Officer Faulkner. Faulkner was found to be shot by a .44 caliber weapon. Mumia's weapon was never tested by police to see whether it had been fired. Mumia Abu Jamal was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death in 1982. Eyewitnesses who were not called to testify in 1982 have since come forward, stating that Mumia was not the man who shot Officer Faulkner. One eyewitness, Veronica Jones, says that she was threatened to be jailed by police if she testified. There are other witnesses who originally testified against Mumia that have since changed their stories, stating that they were threatened and intimidated by police. There is a lot of controversy surrounding the case of former Black Panther Party member turned successful radio journalist Mumia Abu Jamal. I will discuss Mumia's past and how he started his affiliation with the Black Panther Party, how the Black Panther Party came to exist, its influences, and the current state that Mumia is in now following his prosecution. Mumia Abu Jamal had his first encounter with police at the age of 14 when he was beaten by a white Philadelphia police officer for disrupting a George Wallace for President rally in 1968. He soon dropped out of high school and became involved with the Philadelphia chapter of the Black Panther Party at the age of 15. Mumia was chosen to be the Black Panther Party's Lieutenant of Information, in which he was in charge of media relations for the organization. This caused Mumia to be placed on the radar for surveillance by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was founded by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, who met in 1961 at Merritt College in Oakland, California. They later joined activist and professor Donald Worden's Afro-American Association, but they became dissatisfied with Worden's pro-capitalist form of black nationalism. Their ideas were more aligned with those of Malcolm X. After affiliations with the Merritt Soul Student Advisory Council and with the Williams-inspired Revolutionary Action Movement, Newton and Seale created the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense in 1966 in order to expand their political activity. During the late 1960s, when the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was founded, Black communities around the United States did not have the physical protection that police and sheriff's departments provided to most white communities. The duties of the Black Panther Party involved monitoring police activities in Black communities to ensure that civil rights were respected. In early 1967, Bobby Seale wrote that Huey was on a level where he was ready to organize the Black brothers for a righteous revolutionary struggle with guns and force. The Black Panther Party dropped for self-defense from its name in 1967, but the group remained a paramilitary organization held together by Newton's eclectic ideas, which were drawn from Marxist-Leninist and Black nationalist writings and from the examples of revolutionary movements in Asia and Africa. Seale and Newton also read up on the works of freedom fighters who had immensely helped Black communities in the United States. Newton once stated, "In a sense, these sessions at Bobby's house were our political education classes, and the party sort of grew out of them." The Black Panther Party's logo is coincidentally a Black Panther. Founder Huey Newton comments on why the group chose a Black Panther to represent them.
We use the Black Panther as our symbol because the Panther doesn't strike anyone, but when he's assailed upon, that he'll back up first. But if the aggressor continues, then he'll strike out.
Seale had collected Malcolm X's speeches and ideas from papers like The Militant as well as Muhammad Speaks, which were studied carefully. Malcolm's influence was present in the forming of the Black Panther Party. Newton once said, "We continue to believe that the Black Panther Party exists in the spirit of Malcolm." In 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated in the Abidjan Ballroom in New York City. Following Malcolm X's assassination in 1965, it has been suggested by some historians that the Black Panther Party used his philosophy of gaining freedom by any means necessary, both as a justification of their methods as well as a means of inspiring other African Americans to join their cause. Both Newton and Seale were drawn in by Malcolm's speeches and agreed with many of the revolutionary ideas he expressed within them. In his memoir, Live from Death Row, Mumia states that the Black Panther Party consisted itself of the sons of Malcolm, for the sons he never had, and inherited one of their central tenets, black self-defense, from his teachings. In 1964, the Organization of Afro-American Unity, otherwise known as the OAAU, was formed by Malcolm X. It was a Pan-Africanist organization that was modeled off of the Organization of African Unity, which had impressed Malcolm X during his visit to Africa in April and May of 1964. The purpose of the OAAU was to fight for the human rights of African Americans while promoting cooperation between Africans and the people of African descent who were living in the Americas. Unfortunately, Malcolm X didn't have much time to invest in the OAAU due to his assassination in 1965. His half-sister Ella Little Collins took over leadership of the OAAU following his death, but the absence of Malcolm X and a decline in membership led to the collapse of the organization. Huey Newton once referred to the OAAU, stating, "Although Malcolm's program for the Organization of Afro-American Unity was never put into operation, he has made it clear that blacks ought to arm." Newton claimed that Malcolm's work with the Organization of Afro-American Unity was one of the major sources of inspiration in him, eventually forming the Black Panther Party, and gave him enormous credit in paving the way for the party's eventual rise. Mumia Abu-Jamal has never been known for violence. When he was willing to argue his point of view with conviction, those who knew him stated that he did so without raising his voice. For the 30 years following his original sentence, Mumia was held in isolation on death row. He was kept there for over 10 years, despite the fact that a federal judge ordered his death sentence to be overturned in 2001. However, after losing numerous appeals of that order, on December 7, 2011, the Philadelphia District Attorney announced that he was giving up his attempts to restore Mumia's death sentence. Mumia remains in prison under a sentence of life without parole and is currently being held at the State Correctional Institution Mahanoy in Frackville, Pennsylvania. In an interview in late 2016 with Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!, Goodman questioned Mumia about the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party founding.
It's the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Black Panthers in just a few weeks. Your comments on this as a former Black Panther yourself?
I am happy to announce that we are republishing We Want Freedom, A Life in the Black Panther Party, by a new publisher called Common Notions of Brooklyn. It's a book that I'm really proudest of because It tells the story of the Black Panther Party, warts and all, criticisms and all, personal and political. And I think that in an age where Black Lives Matter is the greatest and biggest civil rights movement in decades, it's time for people to learn from that movement, its high points, its low points, its mistakes, and its successes. Because if you read the 10-point program that Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton wrote in October 1966, it will startle you. It will shock you to see what hasn't changed in 50 years. To quote Young Jeezy, the rapper, we're still living in hell. And so we must change this reality. And that work continues for all of us.